As we're heading into Cyberstorm Access here, we're going to have a special showcase of a lot of the interesting decks and things that you might want to consider. Don't be like 30% of you that have not smashed the ever-living crap out of that subscribe button. Smash so you guys don't miss out on more awesome content. We're going to be pulling up here and showcasing some Syac decks here that might actually want to give some consideration to what's seeing play here. Rainbow Bridge of Salvation has actually turned into a fantastic card for this deck, actually, because getting the ability to recruit for, an extra extender so you can actually make an IP during your opponent's turn in case they have, the Exceed Encore or something like that is going to be very, very crucial for you to, kind of set up. And of course, it's just more searchability to get to the Purrely field spell, which good old Stray here is actually pretty amazing for what you expect out of this deck. So this is purely going to be operating on Lily here and basically trying to get as many draws as possible during the opponent's turn. So we have triple copies of Ash Blossom and Joyspring. We have triple copies of just regular Purrely. And we have triple copies of little Purrely Lily. We have your one Cobalt Eagle with your triple My Friend Purrely, your triple copies of Delicious Memory and triple Pretty Memory. We have triple copies of Sleepy Memory with triple copies of Happy Memory. Just 2 copies of the field spell. You could make an argument that you might want to try more than that. I know people out there will be like, I really want to play 3 of it. You have searchability means for it, but people will try out weird ideas. We have 2 copies of Pot of Prosperity with 1 Dark Roll No More, 2 copies of Talents, and 2 copies of Thrust. Both of these cards are incredibly busted. We have 2 copies of Purrely Leap, triple copies of Rainbow Bridge of Salvation, and then 1 Dimensional Barrier so you can actually toggle into it off of Thrust. Down in the next check, we have 1 Protector of the Agent's Moon, 1 Lingaribo with 1 IP, 1 Apollosa with 1 copy of the Fucho, 1 Assembled Nightingale with 2 Nor. We have 1 Happiness with 2 Plump. We have 1 Happiness with 1 Beauty, and then we have 1 Downard and 1 Zeus. And then we have 2 Vanity's Fiend, 2 Santa Claus, 1 Feather Duster, 1 Dark Ruler, 1 Herald of the Abyss, 2 Lightning Storm, 2 Evenly Matched, 2 Dimensional Barrier, and 2 copies of everybody's favorite Solemn Judgment here, wrapping up the early Purrely experience. Next up here is going to be a look at Superheavy Samurai. Now, I've seen a lot of cool methods and things for this deck. One of the ones being able to toggle and make the Cyberstein. Cyberstein is going to turn into quite a troublesome card for, just the rest of the metagame, because you'll be able to get into Gear Gigantic for free, which allows this deck to set up a universal spell and trap negator that effectively is going to create infinite resources for this deck. And that's actually incredibly nuts. And then some of the extra combo extenders and things that this deck will be getting. This deck is going to end up being one of the scarier decks in the room that I don't think a lot of people are really prepared for yet. So we have triple copies of Ash Blossom and Joyspring with 1 Cyberstein. We have triple copies of Droll and Lockbird with triple copies of Effect Veiler. We have triple copies of Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit. Triple copies of the Giant Space Rock with triple copies of the Samurai Bike. We have just 2 copies of Big Benki with triple copies of the Prodigy Wakashi. Your triple scales with your 1 Soul Gaia booster. We have triple copies of Soul Peacemaker, triple copies of the Soul Piercer, your triple wagon, and triple copies of Regulus. Do keep in mind the Regulus is going to be a free universal monster just kind of set up here and then just not even care about your opponent. Thank you, Machine Monsters, for helping us out. We have 2 of the Super Heavy Scareclaw Link 1, or Scarecrow Link 1. 1 Genius with 1 Platinum Gadget, your 1 Nightmare with 1 IP, your 1 Apple with your 1 Access Machine, 1 Gear Gigantic, 1 Zeus, your 1 Ogre Shooting Doji, 1 Borreload Savage, your 1 Baron, your 1 Excel Synchro, your 1 Naturi Exterio, your 2 Archfiend Eccentrics with your triple Denko Sekka, triple Ghost Spell, triple Divine Carnate, triple Gamma, and 1 copy of the Driver here, wrapping up the Super Heavy Samurai experience. Next up here is some Phantom Knight shenanigans. Now, you don't get a lot of additional push for this deck because the only real new card that this is playing is the Fascinating Bird. So the equipped monster cannot be destroyed by card effects. You can only use each of the following of Dance of the Minkanko Fascinating Bird once per turn. So if your Minkanko monster battles at the end of damage step, you can target 1 card on the field, return it to the hand, and if this card is in your graveyard, target Minkanko in your graveyard, special summon it, but banish it when it leaves the field, and if you do equip it with this card. This is a free extender for the deck, which is actually going to be really, really good. We do get a new name for Minkanko. Some of the Warrior Toolbox-esque builds will you know, give it some consideration to play, but it's not on the higher end of the agenda in terms of what people want to try. It is incredibly good, don't get me wrong, but a lot of players aren't going too particularly crazy for it. So we have 2 copies of Ash Blossom and Joy Spring, with 1 copy of Mothman. We have 1 Danger Jackalope with 1 Tsuchinoko. We have 2 copies of the Hare with 2 copies of the, or excuse me, 1 Immortal Gifreed. We have 1 Renauld with triple copies of Kagemusha Knight. We have 1 Psychic Tracker with 1 Wielder. We have 2 copies of Ancient Cloak with 2 copies of Ragged Gloves. We have triple copies of Silent Boots with 1 Stained Greaves. We have triple copies of Torn Scale with 2 copies of the Ohime. We have 1 copy of the Fascinating Bird with 2 copies of Forbidden Droplet. We have 1 Reflection Rondo with 2 copies of the Water Ever Eske. 1 copy of Rhoda. We have 1 copy of the Great Minkongo Ceremony. 2 copies of Talents. 2 copies of Fogblade. We have 1 Wings, and we have 1 copy of Good Old Shade Brigade. And then we have 1 copy of Rusty Tin Can, 1 Isolde, with 1 Dahark, 1 Cherubini with 1 Apo, 1 Axis Machine with 2 copies of the Phantom Knights of Breaksword. We have 1 Raiders Knight with 1 Leviair, 1 Evil Storm Nightmare, 1 Zeus, 1 Arc Rebellion, 1 Omega, and 1 Cupid Pitch. Wrapping up your combo for good stuff. Next up is some Dragon Link shenanigans. Now, the reason why I bring this up is because Dragon Link gets these 2 incredibly stupid good cards. Your first one's going to be Bysteel Das Peter, which is going to be a tuner plus a non-tuner dragon monster, which is incredibly straightforward for what you want. Just lets you target a banished light or dark monster, special summon it to your field. Your opponent activates a card effect, quick effect, target 1 banished card, shuffle into the deck. Then, if you were the owner, destroy that card. If your opponent was, negate the activated effect. Spot removal, and then, of course, the most busted card in all the land here is the power of Chaos Angel here. Just being any light or dark monster can be traded as a tuner for this card's Synchro Summon. And then you target a card in the field, banish it, and then you get protection based on which attribute you use in order to make this. Like, Chaos Angel is so ridiculous. We have 1 copy of the Absterado Dragon with 1 copy of the Black Dragon Collapse Serpent. We have triple copies of Black Metal Dragon with 2 copies of Baldrake. You have 1 Jerusalem with 2 Magna Huts. We have 2 copies of Saranir with 1 Levianeer. We have 1 Chaos Emperor Dragon, the Dragon of Armageddon, with triple Gamma. We have 1 Red Eyes Metal Dragon, 2 Flare Metal. We have 1 Rocket Recharger with 1 Rocket Synchron, your 2 Rocket Tracer with 2 Safort, 2 copies of Lubellion, 1 Wyvern Buster, 1 Driver. We have triple Book of Eclipse with 1 Boot Sector, 1 Brain to Regain, triple Chaos Base with 1 Dragon Ravine, triple copies of Quick Launch, 1 Talents, 2 Thrust, and 1 Branded Beast. Then we have 1 Striker Dragon with 1 Quad Boral, 1 Nightmare Unicorn, 1 IP, 2 copies of Hermetic Spheres, 1 Pisty with 1 ROM. We also have 1 Delidrus, 1 Dahark, 1 Borland, 1 Access Code, 1 Chaos Angel, 1 Bysteel, and 1 copy of the Borreload Savage Dragon here. Wrapping up the power of the good stuff for this deck. And then we also have, I also wanted to add this in as a showcase because Exo Sister really does get a lot better here post-list. You're going to get the chance to test out some very interesting goodies here that are going to make this deck feel a lot better as it kind of goes on. And the Exo Sister Runic package has just been one of the engines that is just kind of like free real estate for this deck in terms of advantage. So we have triple copies of Ellis with 1 Irene. We have triple Martha with 2 Sophia. We have 2 Stella with 2 copies of Zoroa. We have 1 Armament with triple packs, triple copies of Destruction. Your triple Flashing Fire with 2 Fountain. We have triple Freezing Curses with 1 Slumber. We have triple Tip with 2 Talents, triple copies of Evenly Matched, 2 Returnia, and 1 copy of Vadas. Then we have 1 copy of Artemis, 1 copy of the Glass Goddess, 2 Magnifica with 2 copies of Mikhail's, 2 copies of Caspitiel, 1 Jabrine, 1 Osophiel, 1 copy of the Mighty Calamity, 2 copies of Hugin, and 2 copies of Gary. Then we have triple copies of Dimension Shifter, triple copies of Droll and Lockbird, triple copies of Dark Will and No More, 2 Thrust, 2 Anti-Spell, and 2 copies of Solemn Judgment here, wrapping up everything that we're kind of going to see makes an interesting little splash here post Cyberstorm Access. And I do think kind of as time goes on here, we'll see some very, very interesting developments for the overall state of the metagame, but this should get your feet a little bit wet to what to expect this week. So what do you guys think? Please, if you're coming down below, tell me what you guys think. I'll see your beautiful faces back here later today, guys. Peace out. patrons. Thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.